Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. In this video, I'll show the third installment of my coloring book collection, and if that is of interest to you, please stay tuned. Okay, so I'm calling number 3 in this series the Hidden Objects +1, and the +1 obviously is this one right here. This doesn't have any hidden objects in it, but when I was categorizing my books, one, it's by shelf, and then also I'm trying to put them by style. So I'm thinking after this there might be either 2 or 3 more videos. I don't want to make them too long because editing is a beast, but also because they just kind of make sense for me. And at the end of the video, when I show you my tracker, then I'll be able to refer to a smaller set of books than if I just do what's on the shelf and just do one long video. I don't know, it makes sense to me. So in this particular video, there's going to be 6 coloring books in total. We're going to start off with the Ink House. So the Hidden Objects +1. The +1 again is this one. Now this book by Rory Dobner is truly that. It is a book. It is not a coloring book, but the coloring book community has really taken this to heart, and I'm happy to report that I actually have a page in here colored. And the page I did is this one here. Now this is actually for one of Olga's challenges. Currently for this week, it is sweets. And so this you'll see again in my completed pages. I did this with some polys. I did pick up some Faber-Castell Polychromos, a 24 set. I am writing down the numbers that I used on this page. Although just to make this cohesive, I might just keep this as the 24 count Polychromos that I have. And then that way, I mean, the tones go well in the tin. They should go well on this page. But I like how this looks. For most of these, if not all of them, I will be keeping the background light just to make them cohesive. That is the only page that I've colored from this book. And to be honest, it's twofold. One, I do want to keep some of these smaller pages by way of images for Olga's tag, just in case they can be used. And then some of these more intricate ones, because there's just more on here I'd want to focus on. I can get to those later, but I really do like this. The Polychromos really like this paper. Because it's such a pigmented pencil, even though it's harder, because of the tooth of the paper, I was able to do quite a few layers, even though I generally don't do that, because I could use light pressure and I wasn't putting a lot of pressure on my hands. Something that I'm going to talk about throughout my video series for the coloring books is I need tools that work with me by way of how much stamina and how much, not even hand strength, but I do a lot with my right hand by way of writing, typing, working, whatnot. And so I don't want tools that are going to hinder me because they're just not pigmented enough for me. But that is the Ink House by Rory Dobner. This one is Mythomorphia by Kirby Rosannes. And there's 2 little flags here, but only one counts. And the one is the double page spread that I finished. I am considering this done. This I will show again in my completed pages. This is a buddy color that I did with Poet Spice, and I want to mention something. For me, this is done. I have seen other renditions of this where it is just absolutely stunning, gorgeous artwork. And I don't mean to say that mine isn't nice looking. When you start playing the comparison game, you're always going to be more critical of your work than others. The reason and the way that I usually stop working on a page is I just ask myself one question. Has this stopped being fun? And that's where I am with this one. I was really energized for about 95% of it, and then putting all of these little dots in here and then just going back and doing some shading because I wanted to. That really just took me to that threshold of, yeah, I'm I'm done. Now, someone might see this who definitely has a more artistic bent and think, oh no, you are not done. You could do more. This could be better. I don't need this to be better. I need this to be relaxing. I need this to be fun. And when it stops being that, I'm done. So, if you're like me and you are just coloring to relax and just playing with your stuff and just enjoying the imagery on the page, that is perfectly fine. I've seen videos that are not geared towards me where they're doing tutorial styles and they're talking about you need to up your game and you need to up your level, where the missing part of that phrase is, if you want. This is not going to go in an art gallery. This is not going to go on my wall. This is not going to be gifted. And I'm going to tell you right now, anytime I look at this page, I'm going to feel happiness and pride because it's the second 2-page spread that I've done. This didn't intimidate me as much as overwhelmed me, and I still took it on anyway. And so I don't need to level up anything. I'm not sure who I'm competing against. I'm not sure who I'm competing for. Now, again, those tutorial videos are definitely geared towards people who want to up their level by way of shading and lighting and this and that and the other. That's fine. But I don't ever want anyone to feel like, oh, it has to look like this, or I could do more, or I could be better. This was fun until it wasn't, and then I was done. And I don't know if you hear that a lot in the coloring book community. Use the tools you want, play in the books you want, pick the pictures you want, do as much or as little as you want, and then you always have the chance to come back. Now, I know there are people who like to redo pages because it was so much fun that they just want to experience that again. I'm going to tell you right now that I'm not one of them. I'm not one of those people. I'm never going to buy another copy of this book so I can do this page again. I've had all of my fun and enjoyment, and I'm going to leave it on the page. There are so many books on my shelf that I'm currently looking at literally right now that have all of these blank pages. Now, nothing against those who like to redo, because to me, I love hearing the excitement and the passion. I'm like, oh yeah, I did this and I did this. I don't so much like hearing when people ding their older work. Whether you have the skill, the knowledge, or the tools, I think you should be a little nicer to your older version of yourself, at least by way of coloring books. than, where you are at this level. Now, I laughed at that because I am notoriously hard on myself on all aspects, except when it comes to my creative hobbies. Where I am today, I don't know that it's necessarily better than where I was 6 months ago when I started, but I do know I have a lot more tools to play with. And so that certainly can help me enjoy the experience more. That was so much preachiness. Okay, and so this one here, and I'll take this, I'll leave this one, is not a whip because I have not put any color on the page, but this is another buddy color that I'm doing with my girl Poet Spice. I'll link her channel below. This I'll probably be tackling in the next week or so. I'd like to have this one done by the end of the month. I have been dealing with some shoulder and back issues, so that has hindered my coloring for this month. But I just wanted to show it, one, because this also goes towards Olga Rani's monthly color along Strange Creature. And I want to keep this little tabby in here to remind me that I need to do this. We have so many buddy colors together that I'm going to need to make a list. I definitely need to make a list. But this was Mythomorphia by Kirby Rosanis. I don't know if I said mythographic when I first described this, but this is Mythomorphia by Kirby Rosanis. The next book I have is another Kirby Rosanis, is World Within Worlds. This is the very first one that I purchased. I do have both a completed page and a whip in here. And so my completed page is this right here. I was a little, not intimidated. I don't want a book to intimidate me. I don't want to spend my money and then be afraid to use something. That just seems a little ridiculous to me personally. But I'm like, okay, well, I know I love the mythographics because I can use alcohol markers. Well, these are double-sided. So unless I want to sacrifice, which I don't necessarily want to do, I can't use them. But this paper, and the Mythomorphia paper, they take mediums a treat. There is a little buckling. There was some water mediums used on here, but I didn't treat this with the satin glazing medium, so this is just the paper. But there's Tombos on here, there's Albrecht Dürers on here, there's some pencils on here, and I think it's just a wonderful paper quality. I've heard some of the other ones not so much, but I'm very lucky in that this one does. And so it does make it enjoyable when you can use a variety of your different tools to get effects that you may want. So I'm really happy with this page. Again, at the time I didn't have distress inks, but because I want the focus to be here, I don't know that I would have done a background anyway. And then the whip I have is this right here. I did actually start this whip before I had gotten the Mythomorphia. And then when I got that, and more importantly, my Inktense, because this is done in Albrecht Dürer pencils, then I'm like, okay, well, I can always come back to this one. And this may not be completed in the month of July, but I'd like to get back to it maybe in August. Although, because I've already started it and I know water mediums work well in here, if, you know, something comes up for Olga's challenge, well, then I'm going to just finish it. But this is the other whip that I have in here, and this is World Within Worlds. I did have the opportunity to look at Fragile Worlds in Walmart the other day. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to come into my arsenal. I don't mind the animal pictures because there's other things on the picture, but I do not gravitate towards animals. But this is interesting to me, and this is interesting to me. So I will color this page. But with Fragile Worlds, it's beautiful artwork, but it's just animals, and it's just not anything that I'm into. But yeah, there's that one there. World Within World, Kirby Rosance. All right, this is Mythographic Imagine by Joseph Contenbong. Of the two artists that are doing Mythographic so far, I do prefer his artwork, and more so because the hidden objects in these are not as obnoxious as in the Fabiana Attanasio. And I don't know if it's the artist inserting them in or if it's the publisher, but I am not a fan. Now, this is actually quite a chunky book. This is thicker than any of the other Mythographics I have. This is a relatively new purchase. May of this year, and I've only done one in this one, and that's this one here. And this one I did get done in the month of June. This is mostly alcohol markers with a little bit of metallic gel pen, as well as some distress ink in the back. And as I've mentioned in several other videos, mythographic books are very relaxing to me. They're the equivalent of what people use mandalas and color by numbers for, where they can just kind of turn off their mind. This is the same thing for me. I don't get intimidated or overwhelmed by how intricate the pictures are, because I just look at what's in it and try to figure out, okay, well, the majority of the picture of this is this huge ice cream and then these snowflakes. I think these are beavers or something. And so right now that's 3 colors on the page. This is an orange sickle, probably a vivid highlighter yellow for the snowflakes, and then brown for the otters. And then everything else I'll either do light to sort of recede so that these other things pop up, or I'll do dark to sort of highlight these things here. So that's how I approach these pages, where I just identify, well, what exactly is going on. There's some of these zinnias, and there's some books, and the rest of this is greenery. Easy. And so not so much in this one. In the next one I'm going to show you, but I've done quite a bit of mythographic pages because I enjoy mythographic. I do have the one that's coming out in August on pre-order, and I actually think that's a new artist, so I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. But this is Mythographic Imagine by Joseph Contenbong. This is a Mythographic Dream Garden by Fabiana Attanasio. This one I also did recently get. This was a June. I bought it in May, but I got it in June. And I do have one picture done in here, which is this picture here. I don't know if I mentioned, but that picture I just showed you, that was also a buddy color with Poet Spice, as was this one. I'm taking the tag off because this is not a July picture. And so again, I did distress ink in the background and some Ohuhu alcohol pen. I just had a brain fart. Ohuhu alcohol markers, and then there's just some light pencil work on these things here. And some of the obnoxious things I was telling you about is there's a microphone there, a yo-yo there, a straw there, a gummy there. It's just like, it's such a pretty picture. Why do you ruin it like that? But I overlook it, and so it's part of the background. I'm not even going to be worried. Now, if you have been wanting to delve into the mythographic books, I'd actually recommend this one. Now, I have, let's see, 3, and then I have 1 at work. So I have 4 mythographics in my arsenal with another one on the way. And of the 4, I'd say these pictures are probably some of the simpler ones. Now, definitely detail is on the page, but it is not as heavily detailed, I find, as some of the other ones. And so if you're looking to get into it, something like this, again, the house in all browns or maybe reds, the background I would do in a dark sky or in a blue sky, and then green leaves and flowers. Really simple way to approach these pictures. And again, some of them are a little bit more detailed, but I think still doable. And what makes them more so is you can identify what things are. In some of the more intricate pictures, just trying to figure out what you're looking at can be the hardest thing. Like this, I just assumed was a tree until I saw the giraffe face. And then I realized that's not a giraffe face, or that's not a tree. Although this would definitely be an interesting entry into Oglarani's Strange Creatures, because it's a giraffe, but it isn't. So yeah, this is Dream Garden by Fabiana Atanasio, a mythographic coloring book. And the final one in this installment is Mythographic Odyssey, and it was really, I don't want to say divine intervention. That's like total drama queen. I mean, I can be a bit of a drama queen, I'm not going to lie, but I had picked up the Frozen Fantasies one that I showed you in the video, the first video. That's the one I have at work. And I had that one first. I wasn't sure how I felt about the artwork. I wasn't sure about the level of detail. And then I got my Ohuhu alcohol markers from Walmart, because I've talked about this before. Some of the, or most of the alcohol markers on Amazon, they won't sell and send to Hawaii. Don't know why, they just won't. And then using alcohol markers on this very first page right here made me fall in love with these books. It is intricate, even though the entire middle section is gone, but it was just so much fun figuring out what is what, how can I play with color, what am I going to focus on? Do you even see that there's a tree lady right there? I really had fun with this. And so I have been really enjoying these mythographic books because of the alcohol markers. You won't see me use any other medium as the base of it. So I might add medium on top. There's a little bit of gel pen in here. And there's a little bit of color pencil, just a tiny bit, but most of this is going to be done in alcohol marker because that way it's quick. Again, I don't get into that issue where I have to press hard to get the pigment that I want, and I just love it. Now, I did find out the hard way that these are perforated, but I just taped them back into the book. No harm, no foul. And so I've done this page. This was one of my first ready colors with Poet Spice. You definitely need to check out her YouTube channel. I will link it below, but you absolutely have to check out her Instagram page. And if I can find it, I'll go ahead and link it below as well. That woman is so talented in the way she uses light and dark. In quite a few of her pictures, she does this brown-blue combination that is both ethereal and elegant. The way that I approached this picture, I did all of the flower work first, where I should have, I think, done more of the hat and then kind of worked outwards, because by the time I got to the hat, I didn't know what color to use. Now, is this my favorite picture? No, but I like looking at it, and I do like that the eyes are glowing. It's a little freaky to me, and I kind of like it. But this was a picture that I finished in this book. I'm actually going to show you the next two, not in order. This one I had an idea of what I wanted to do with her. I liked the imagery. Where I think it went a little bit wrong for me is I wanted the snake to sort of be a fixture, but I still wanted to focus on her. So I think I needed to make him a little darker. I'm not sure, but he takes up quite a bit of the page once you start looking at it. And stones are always going to be gray. Wood is always going to be brown. But I did a fair amount of shading on her with both Ohuhu alcohol markers, and then there is some pencil work on top just to make her skin a little bit green. Now, I like the overall picture, not going to lie, but two of the other ones I'm going to show you in just a bit, I absolutely adore those. This next one is this one right here. And I don't know if that's the effect that it gives, but for me, the way that I color them is very graphic novel, very comic book style, where it's very vivid colors, not a ton of shading, not a ton of layering of colors. And I think that's another part of why I love these mythographic books so much, because I love the effect of it. Some of the other books, especially if I'm doing pencil work, I don't necessarily do a lot of layering and blending, but I do pay a special attention to making things look a little rounded or a little bit more 3D than something like this, where I'm not really focusing that much on those aspects. And again, as you can see, there's a lot of detail going on in the ground here, but I just made the executive decision. That's going to be the ground, that's going to be the background, and we're just going to go from there. I'm not going to be too concerned if what belongs to what, as long as it makes sense to me. This picture right here, I did for Olga Rani's, what was the challenge? Pyramids. So there are a few pyramids on the page, and this is a picture, honestly, I probably would have never done outside of doing a challenge like Olga's doing, because I mean, I think the Anubis is interesting, and I did get a chance to work on my, at least attempting to make this look like gold, but it's not a subject matter that I lean towards. And so having a challenge like that makes me get into my book. Now, this is one of my favorite pages, even more so than one of the ones that I actively chose. You know, that I'm like, oh yeah, no, I absolutely have to do this one. This one was a challenge. I got into it, and I'm really happy with the results. This one is a lot more layering. There's a lot more product on the page, and so that certainly helps. But I just think it's really fun to look at, to me. I don't know. That's how I feel. And this one is probably one of my favorite pages that I've ever done. Now, I don't know that I mentioned this in the beginning of the video, but I rediscovered coloring back in January 2021, so just 6 months ago. And I have done quite a few pages, I have to admit, and I'm not tracking that on a monthly basis. What I get done is what I get done, but I can think of maybe 2 other pictures that I am inordinately proud of. Now, this was another buddy color with my girl Poet Spice, and where the pride comes in for me is I love the combination of these bright reds and purples and pinks with this teal background. That might be one of my favorite color combinations ever. I absolutely adore this page. Now, Poet Spice's page, it actually is more of a feature on the character, because I don't know if you can tell, but this is like to me, the story in my head is he is a phoenix, and instead of rising in the way that he did before, because phoenix rise in the same form that they had, he has chosen to make his form differently. So he is the phoenix, but he's also more than that. And I love the story that I have in my head, but really it's the colors on the page for me that really do it. And I was not a fan of this page until I did the background. And the majority of this is done in Ohuhu with a little bit of Tombow and a little bit of glitter gel pen. And I have to say, it really, really, really is striking to me. I love this page. I love looking at this page. And anytime I flip through this book, I'm like, oh, yeah, I did that. Now, and I'd like to think that in 6 months' time, when I do this again, I'm going to open up to this page and like, yeah, I did that. Now, of course, there are things that I could have done better, like these birds. These birds are throwaways to me. They could be off the page, I wouldn't care. But I can see the creativity here. I can certainly see the effort. This is hours of work that I enjoyed, mostly. But I'm not going to take away from the effort that previous Johanna did just because, you know, Johanna at that time has better tools or has more knowledge or just knows how to do things that are a little bit easier. To me, I wish people would be a little bit easier on themselves. You wouldn't say some of the things you say about your own work to anyone else in the community. I don't know. I don't like it. But that's the last book. Let me show you my tracker and we'll be done for this video. All right, as I mentioned in the first two videos, this is my Maisie Lynn Co. long-term reference journal. I did have it personalized, and we're just going to flip because this isn't the first time you've seen it. So this is video number 3, Hidden Objects +1. And so there are 6 books in this series. Again, this makes the most sense to me. When I do this at the end of the year, I know I'm going to have at least one more mythographic book. I think Kirby Rosanis is coming out with another book, so I might have another one. And I'm just going to put them in with wherever it makes sense to me. And so of the 6 books, I have 12 pages completed. I am treating the Mythomorphia, even though it's a 1 page or it's one spread, it's 2 pages, so I'm counting it as 2. And conversely, for the World Within Worlds, I'm counting the WIP as 2 because it is a double page spread. And so that's right there. So far we have 24 and 39. That's 59 plus 4, 63. The calculator I use is on the phone I'm recording on. So yeah, put in the comments below what the math is on this, but there's 12 there, 12 there, and 39 there in the 15, 25, 31 books. Not bad. Again, the statistics on this page is really just for my own purposes. I don't care how many pages I color, as long as I'm having fun doing it. Who cares what the number is? All right, so that's the end of bookshelf number 2. Yeah, bookshelf number 2. Bookshelf number 1 is going to be at least videos 4 and 5. I'm thinking it's actually going to be 4, 5, and 6. Clearly, I'm a chatty person. So I like talking about the reason why I have the books. I like talking about the reason why I have the pictures. And apparently, I like to do a little bit of a rant on why I think people should be nicer to themselves. But that's just me. All right, if you're still here, go ahead and put flower. I know it's after 11 p.m. I've got to work in the morning. So yeah, my creativity and by way of thinking is not the greatest. But that's it for me for now, guys. And as always, aloha.